We are going to make a simple 3D model of a bug using geometric shapes. So once we're finished, the model will look like this, okay? And when we print it out, it will look like this. So I'm going to close this version of Blender because I have another version of Blender already open that looks similar to the version that you have. So if you do not follow along with the third tutorial where we go over the interface, you should probably watch that before you go through this tutorial because we changed a lot of settings, specifically the unit measures, but a lot of other things as well. And I'm not going to go over those things again in this video. So first, we want to save our work. So I'm going to go down to Save As in the File menu, and I want you to click on the directory I asked you to create 3D models. All right, and we're going to rename this untitled.blend to bug.blend. Okay, we're going to save this as bug.blend. So our bug is going to be created out of sphere, so we don't need this cube. So I'm going to delete it by pressing X and then confirming that with a click. So I'm going to add the sphere, Shift A, and then go down to UV sphere. I need this first sphere to be 10 millimeters. You can see that when we add the sphere, it's 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters by 2 millimeters. I need it to be 10. 5 times 2 is 10. So I'm going to scale 5. Zoom out a little bit so we can see. Okay, and now it is 10 millimeters, which is the same as 1 centimeter. I'm going to lock in that scale. So Control A, and I'm going to go down to scale. I'm going to apply the scale. Make sure you only do apply scale, not anything else. Now, when you apply a scale or apply anything, you can't revert back by pressing Alt S like you could in the previous tutorials. But that's okay because that's going to allow us to scale again. And I'm going to scale 2 more times. So I'm going to scale on the Y, so SY, and then I want that to be 1.2, okay? And I'm going to scale again on Z, and I want to scale 0.8, okay? And if you press Enter to lock that in, and you press 3 to get the right view of the sphere, you can see what it looks like. It elongated it a little bit, okay? What we want to do now is remove the bottom of this sphere and make it a hemisphere because we need a flat platform for our bug. To do that, we're going to go into Edit mode, and we are going to deselect everything by pressing A, and then we are going to select all the faces below. I'm going to go into Ortho mode by pressing 5, so you can see the axes a little bit better. So anything below the green Y-axis is what we want to delete to get a flat platform. Now, I'm going to go into X-ray mode or wireframe mode by pressing Z, so that I can select the faces on both sides without having to rotate the sphere. So Control Tab, Face Select, and now press B. And like I said, I'm going to box select everything below the green line. And if I press X and delete the vertices, it will put a giant hole in the bottom of the sphere, which is not what I want. So I'm going to actually show you what that looks like. If I delete the vertices and turn off X-ray mode by pressing Z, and rotate around, you can see there's a giant hole. We actually need a platform. So that's not what we're going to do. So I'm going to press 3 again to get back into right mode, and then I'm going to press Control Z to undo that deletion of the vertices. What we need to do is do X to delete, but we want to dissolve all those faces into one giant face. So we're going to say dissolve faces. Okay? So now if I rotate around, you'll see now we have one giant platform. Okay? All right, I'm going to leave Edit mode by pressing Tab. I'm going to leave Ortho by pressing 5 so you can get perspective. Rotate around, see what it looks like so far, our bug looks like so far. This is our bug's body. And let me apply that scale that we did by pressing Control A. Okay? And now I'm going to hide this and work on our bug's head. So to hide, press H. Just in case our 3D cursor moved, I'm going to make sure that it's in the middle by pressing Shift S and then cursor to center. My cursor didn't move, but yours may have if you clicked off in the wrong place. And I want to make sure that you're putting the head in the middle. So we're going to do a Shift A to add another UV sphere. This sphere needs to be 6 millimeters by 6 millimeters by 6 millimeters. We start by 2 millimeters, so what we need to do is scale. 2 times 3 is 6. So scale 3 and then press Enter to lock that in. Okay. Now we can do a Control A to apply that scale. Okay. And we want to do one more scale on the Y. So we're going to say scale and then we're going to say Y and we want it to be 0.8. Okay. And press Enter to lock that in. We are going to go back to the right view and then go into Ortho by pressing 5 and we want to remove the bottom of this as well. So we're going to go into Edit mode. Again, we're going to deselect with A, zoom in a little bit, go into wireframe mode by clicking Z, Control Tab to get the face select, and then box select everything below the Y-axis. Okay, and again, X to delete, and we want to dissolve faces, and we have a platform. Get out of wireframe mode by pressing Z, and get out of Edit mode by pressing Tab. So that is our head, but the head is in the middle of the body. So if you were to bring the body back by pressing Alt H, you'll see the head is in the middle of the body. So what I'm going to do is select the body again by right-clicking. I'm going to hide it again, and then I'm going to select the head, and I'm going to move the head. So I'm going to G to grab, and then Y is the direction I want to move it in, and then I'm going to say -5 to move it up a little bit, and then press Enter to lock that in. Then we can press Alt-H to bring the body back, and now that looks a little better. Press 5 to get out of ortho mode, and then I'm going to move around with the mouse so you can see what our bug is starting to look like so far. Alright, now we need legs for our bug. So I am going to hide all of this by pressing H, and now I am going to add another sphere. So Shift A. Well, actually, before I add another sphere, what I'm going to do is do Shift S to make sure my 3D cursor is in the middle. Again, mine didn't move, but you guys always make sure the 3D cursor is in the middle to make sure that everything is going to be lined up properly. And then I'm going to do a Shift A to add another sphere, UV sphere. Okay, this sphere I need to be 13 by 13 by 13. So I'm just going to put that in here instead of scaling it. So 13, then 13, then 13. Okay, and then Control A to apply that scale. And now what I'm going to do is do 2 more scales. So I'm going to scale on the Y, and I want that to be 0.3. Okay, I'm going to scale on Z, and I want that to be 0.3. All right, so I'm going to move to the front view so you can see what that looks like. So press 1 for front view. Then I'm going to go back into ortho by pressing 5 so you can see the axes. Okay, I need to remove the bottom of this as well. So go into edit mode by pressing tab, zoom in with the mouse wheel, and then I am going to deselect everything with an A. I'm going to go into wireframe mode with Z. Then I am going to do Control Tab to face select, and then B to box select. Everything under the X axis I am going to select, and we are going to press X to delete and dissolve those faces into a base. Z to get out of wireframe mode, tab to get out of edit mode. Okay, and we can bring the rest of the bug back by pressing Alt-H. Okay, and now you can see this is what the front of the bug looks like. And if I get out of ortho by pressing 5, and then I just move with the mouse wheel, the middle mouse wheel, you can see what it looks like. It's what it's starting to look like. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I go on is relabel some of these spheres because now they actually mean something. So the first one over here in the outliner, I'm going to click here and I'm going to right click and then go to rename, and then I'm going to name this body, okay, because the first sphere was the body. Then I'm going to click on the next one and then click and then rename. This is going to be head. Then I'm going to click on the last one here, right click and then rename this legs. All right, so we want to actually duplicate these legs. Instead of adding more spheres, what we can do is actually just copy these legs. So I am going to right click to select the legs, and then I am going to do a Shift D, which creates another copy. And if you look in the outliner there, legs.001. And if I were to move the mouse around, you can see that they're connected to the cursor. But I'm going to press escape and leave them there on top of the original legs. So I'm going to change our perspective to the side view by pressing 3. And then I'm going to rotate this copy of the leg. So I'm going to rotate this copy and make sure that it is selected by right clicking on it. You can tell which leg you have selected in the outliner by right here, and you can actually just select the leg over here in the outliner. So I'm going to rotate it on the Z axis. So I'm going to press R and then Z. I'm going to rotate it 30 degrees. Press enter to confirm that. And I'm going to copy the original legs again. So I'm going to select them here. You can see that the legs are selected over here in the outliner. We do another Shift D and I press enter to confirm. And now you can see that the third legs are selected, and I'm going to rotate those on the Z 330. Okay, press enter. Now you can press 1 to see what it looks like from the front, and you can press 7 to see what it looks like from the top. And it's looking very much like a bug. Okay, there are a couple more things that you should do here. So we have a bunch of loose parts that we need to combine into one mesh or one object that we can print. So to do that, we can press A to deselect that leg, and then press A again to select everything. And to join everything, you can do a Control J, and then everything is joined into one object. And I'm going to rename this object just bug. So over here in the outliner, you go to rename, just call it bug. Okay. Now, if you go into edit mode, you'll see it's all one geometry with lots of different faces. Okay. You can actually see up here, we have 1,285 faces and a lot of vertices and a lot of edges. So I'm going to get out of edit mode by pressing tab. All right, the last thing you can do with the one thing selected is shade smooth to make it look a little bit better. But when you shade smooth like this, it actually is going to mess up our platform at the bottom. It's going to try to make the platform bulbous, and we need it to be flat. So over here, we are going to go over to the properties, the data properties. So it just looks like a triangle over here, and we're going to say auto smooth. This will only smooth things that are 30 degrees or less. So at the bottom, it's basically 90 degrees. So it's flat again now. And actually, if I go out of ortho by pressing 5, you can see that it's flat at the bottom again, which is what we want for 3D printing. Okay. The last thing you should do before you save this as a file that can be 3D printed is do a check. I asked you to install 3D print tools. If you press tab to go back into edit mode, you can go down to the 3D print tools that are over here in the toolbar. So click 3D printing, and then you can just click on check all to make sure that there are no issues. And mainly what you want to check for is that you don't have any non-manifold edges, and we have 0 non-manifold edges. That's basically weird holes in our geometry, and we don't have anything like that, so we are good to go. If we did have something like that, we could use the 3D print tools to try to fix some of those issues. Okay? It checks for other things as well, but the way that we set up this model, those are not things that we have to worry about here. So I'm going to press tab to go back into object mode, and then we're going to export into a file that can be printed. So go all the way down to export, and then we're going to export as an STL file. Okay? We want to go to our folder, which is 3D models, and we want to here change untitled to bug STL. You can click on, make sure apply modifiers are on. We didn't use any modifiers, but you want to generally have that on if you do. And then we're going to press export STL. And that is the file that you can send or that you can print. Okay. Next, what we're going to do is create a small keychain of your name using Blender for 3D printing.